where two best friends tell you about history. I don't know if you gathered that. We talk about history.
We are a history podcast, and we talk about history.
We're predictable people. Okay, my name's Emileigh, and this is Morgan.
Hello.
Hello. How are you tonight?
That's who I am. Y'all, we are having our own individual crises.
Yes. We're gonna call it the end of May, like the May blues, I think is what we should call it, because last year, remember, we had the most depressing May.
That's right. I cannot believe that was a year ago.
I know, the JFKs were a year ago, because it was like boom, 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 and then the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. Yeah, it was just like the most depressing May, on top of just being stressed about May. And then this May, I feel like I've fallen. Cannot get up, and somebody's kicking me down here. I'm struggling.
Same. Same. Oh man, yeah.
So guys, give us some grace this month. We're trying.
We are doing our best, and that's just it. Doing our best. That's my new motto for the rest of May. Is I am doing my best. Damn it.
Another tattoo.
You get what you get.
We should just get into it today.
Let's just jump in. I don't know if I have the capacity to chitty chat today.
No. Let's just do it.
I'm excited.
It's 1930 in Texas. Bonnie runs across the yard to meet the mailman before he could even get to the mailbox. Hey, Jerry, do I have anything?
Afternoon, Bonnie. I do, but it's addressed from a fella in prison. You sure you want it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Bonnie runs inside to read the letter in the quiet of her own room when her sister comes in behind her.
Bonnie, please don't tell me it's from him.
Of course it's from him. He loves me and I love him.
You love a prisoner? And aren't you still married to a different prisoner?
You just don't get it.
Well, please read the letter to me and make me get it.
Fine. It says, "Dear baby, I just read your sweet letter and I sure was glad to get it, for I am awfully lonesome and blue. Why did you say you didn't know whether I would accept it or not? Now, honey, you know darn well I didn't mean what I said in my last letter." Morgan, do you know who we're talking about today based on our little skit? Because I haven't told her, guys.
Bonnie? That makes me think of a potentially famous duo in American history.
Maybe Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know anything about Bonnie and Clyde.
See, I have seen a couple, I wouldn't call them documentaries. People, guys, if you don't know who Bonnie and Clyde is, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but, it could be a different country. So here, let me regale you. They are two of the most famous, I don't even know what to call them, because they're not really gangsters. They're Depression era fugitives. They just ran around and stole shit and killed people. But they're very famous. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I've seen people take, because they're so famous, I've seen them take very artistic interpretations and make movies and shows and stuff. But it's like, I want to know who they really are. And they just kind of came up the other day while I was looking for topics. And when this I knew it was the universe again because I was like, ooh, Bonnie and Clyde sounds good. The day that they're killed, as of this episode coming out, will be tomorrow is the anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, let me make sure that's right. Yep. So it's coming out. Today's the 22nd. The anniversary of them being more than apprehended is tomorrow. So.
Well, cool.
Cool. Let's get into it. So Clyde was born, his full name was Clyde Chestnut Barrow. Chestnut. There was, I forget who, but he signed his middle name as Champion instead of Chestnut, and I don't think he liked Chestnut very much.
I wouldn't either. I'd probably do the same thing.
Yes. Clyde C. Barrow. What's the C stand for? Champion.
Because I am the champion. I'm not a chestnut. Wow.
Yep. He was born on March the 24th of 1909, and he was born into a very close-knit farming family in Tellico, Texas. He was one of 7 children. When he was, I believe, 10 to 12-ish, him and his family ended up moving into Dallas because depression. Mm-hmm. What year did the Great Depression start?
I think it really hit in like 1929.
Yeah. So this was a little before the Depression, but in those beginning stages where people were not having a good time.
Well, there was a drought before the Depression happened, like a really bad drought. Just other stuff that I think the Dust Bowl was going on too. Which was like cataclysmic.
Yeah. So they ended up losing the farm and moving into Dallas. And they settled into what is called the area known as the Devil's Back Porch.
Oh.
So he grew up in the slums.
Oh,
and they actually camped out in the wagon that they came into town in until they were able to buy a piece of land, and then they built a little house on it, and then eventually they put a filling station on it. So his dad owned a gas station, and that's how they were able to stay afloat when he got older.
Okay.
But Dallas did a couple things to him. It really showed him like a way of life that was just out of his grasp because of poverty. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dallas is a big city. It kind of at the time was a pretty booming city. Mm-hmm. And he would see, the nicer cars, the richer people across the way. And he couldn't attain that from where he was at. And he was influenced by his older brother, Buck. Okay. We're going to see a lot of Buck in this story.
Okay.
When he was about 16, he actually ended up quitting school at 16 and just turned to crime. So Buck kind of pushed him into that life of crime. So it started out with petty thievery, stealing cars. I mean, this is... Around this time, think of how new the car was. Around this time was when the first, hot wiring of cars started happening.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was kind of in that. He got really good at hot wiring cars. And then it actually escalated all the way to armed robbery. And this was about the time he was, 17 to 20-ish. By the age of 20, he was already a fugitive.
Wow.
And
that's so
was
young.
Wanted. It's so young. And he was wanted by the authorities for several robberies. But Clyde saw crime as his way out of the slums.
Yeah.
He was not a big guy at all. He was only 5'6". Okay. That's my height. Mm-hmm. Are you 5'6" too? Are we the same height?
I'm 5'7".
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you were a tiny bit taller than me. So, he was not a very big guy. So, it actually kind of came in his favor when it came to like stealing cars and sneaking.
Mm-hmm.
Made it easier. So Bonnie was born in Rowena, Texas on October the 1st of 1910. So she is a year younger than Clyde. And her parents' names are Henry and Emma Parker. And she has one older brother, Hubert, but he went by Buster. And
okay.
a younger sister. Sorry, I just moved a lot and then ruined that audio. Okay. And a younger sister named Billy. And I think Billy is such a cute name for a girl.
I think so too.
I love it. I actually know a Billy.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so there was a Billy and a Bonnie here, and I know a Billy and a Benny, and they're sisters.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, it's cute. I love their names. So her father, who was a bricklayer, actually died in 1914, so when she was only 4 years old. And Emma ended up moving the family to Cement City in West Dallas to be closer to relatives. So they grew up pretty poor as well, but I think Cement City was a little better than the Devil's Back Porch.
It sounds like it's a little better.
Yeah, but they were actually pretty close to each other. So Bonnie was actually an honor student, made it all the way through. I believe she finished high school. One source said she made it all the way through high school, but if she did, she would have had to graduate it at 16. Which, I mean, schooling was a little different back then, so it's possible. But she was a singer, dancer, poet, very influenced by motion pictures because those were coming into the scene at the time. And she was only 4'10".
Oh,
and weighed 85 pounds. She was a little
She
tiny
weighed
woman.
85 pounds.
Tiny woman.
Teeny.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. She ended up marrying her boyfriend at the age of 16. And he was a petty thief as well.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Roy Thornton, we don't really know that much about Roy other than he was a thief. One newspaper article from back in the day referred to him as a welder. So he might have been a welder as well. And they had not a good relationship. So it was said that they were, I mean, madly in love, but they were together for about a year before they separated for the third and final time.
Wow.
In December of 1927. Thornton kind of had a teeny bit of a problem with infidelity, and then he'd be gone for a couple weeks, and then she'd ask him where he's been, and then he'd beat her up, and then it was like a whole thing. So he kind of left, and she was like, don't come back. Yeah. Don't bother. And they did remain separated for the rest of their lives, but they never divorced, which is wild to me. So at the time, Bonnie worked at a cafe until it closed in 1929. So I'm sure the Depression did that.
Yeah.
Around this time, Roy Thornton was sent to prison for a 5-year sentence for robbery and a 50-year sentence for armed robbery and kidnapping of a railroad worker, and they tied him to a fence. So they didn't kill him, so there's that. But
oh, that poor guy.
Yeah, it's like, Bonnie, you really know how to pick.
You know how to pick him. Yeah. Yeah. Goodness.
So Bonnie actually had Roy and Bonnie tattooed above her right knee to commemorate their marriage. She never took off the wedding ring. She never divorced him. Even when her and Clyde were together, she wore the ring.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, Roy is in prison, more than likely for the rest of his life. Not long after that, Clyde came into her life. And that was kind of that for Bonnie and Roy. He would have been in prison. This is wild to me. He would have been in prison until 1983.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like, missing...
That's just it.
Like, there's so much that happens between 1927 and 1983. There's so much that happens, and that's that 55-year span of time.
Literally, you went into prison when Henry Ford was just now developing, like, the V8, right? Like, those old cars, you're not even allowed to drink when you go into prison. You come out, there's early cell phones.
And, like, people can, like, carry music, like, down the street. Like...
Could you just imagine the culture shock of the fashion?
Oh, my God. They go from, like, natural tones and, like, maybe blues and pinks to...
And suits.
To neon polyester and crop tops for men and shorts.
And spandex. Everything.
The big hair. Oh, my God. Wow. Right before the Depression to the 80s.
I would be like, put me the fuck back. I don't want to be here.
Can you, like, I'm just imagining, because 1927, that, if I'm remembering correctly, like, Prohibition was still...
Yes, Prohibition did not end until, I think, 33, if I'm remembering correctly. The entire 20s was Prohibition.
And you get to the 80s and everyone is doing cocaine. Like, just everywhere, all the time.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I'd be like,
put me back.
Put me back. I'm stressed. Well, he never had to experience that.
Okay.
Fortunately or unfortunately, he was killed in an attempted prison break in October of 1937.
Oh, wow.
So keep this date in mind because this is after Bonnie and Clyde died.
Wow.
So he witnessed his wife go through all of this from prison, obviously. But he knew about it. He knew about all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, crazy. All right, so this next one is titled Love at First Sight. So we don't really know a whole lot about exact details on how they met. I do know that they had a mutual friend and she was sick. So Bonnie wasn't working anymore because we're in the Depression now. The restaurant she was a waitress at closed down. So she went to go help her sick friend and then met Clyde through this friend somehow. And it just kind of was love at first sight. So that was in January of 1930. February of 1930, just a few weeks later, Clyde gets jailed for the crimes that caught up with him, right? Mm-hmm. So during the time he was in jail, she would write to him and was pleading with him to stay out of trouble so he could get released. Well, he got impatient, and so did she. So he convinced her to smuggle a gun. This is a man she just met. Wow. He convinced her to smuggle a gun.
Gucci right up next to.
Oh, this is my favorite.
The Smith and Wesson.
In footy PJs. The guns in the PJs. Anyway, so she snuck in the gun, and he was able to escape because of that. So now she's like an accomplice, right?
Goodness.
And he signed a letter to her, quoted saying, "You are the sweetest baby in the world to me." Listen, for all the shit they did, that was a tight couple.
Mm.
They were...
Clearly.
I mean, definition ride or die right there. So, anyway, so on March 19th, just a few weeks later, they got recaptured after a robbery. So they're just, what they would do, and you'll see this, they didn't really think that much through it. They would just kind of like I'm out of money, and then they would go rob something that's convenient. So they didn't really have a lot of forethought when it came to their robberies. So sometimes it meant sketchy getaways, and I guess they didn't quite get away with this one.
It sounds like they were extremely impulsive, and it strikes me as very like, and I mean, they're the go-to term for this kind of relationship now, where it's like they are just basically subsisting on the love they have for each other, and then just like, all right, let's go do this thing.
Yep.
Fuck the consequences.
Yep.
Fuck the possible negative outcomes. Like, whatever, we're not even going to think about it.
Yep. We're just going to do the thing, and doesn't matter because we got each other.
Right.
Right. So they got caught again. Clyde was sentenced to 14 years in Eastham Prison Farm on April the 14th. Bonnie was returned to her mother, and because they keep doing this. They're just like, she would never. It's obviously not her fault. She would never.
Bonnie. She's just so sweet. She dances. She graduated high school.
She's just a little thing.
Yeah. She's teeny. She can't do crime. She's only 85 pounds.
85 pounds can't do crime. Well, so poor Clyde went to a place they called the Bloody Ham.
It's so awful. The Devil's Back Porch and the Bloody Ham.
Were y'all okay back then? I don't think you were. I mean, in the middle of the Great Depression, like, they're not okay.
No.
They're not. So, let's think about this for a second. The prison systems at the time were not meant to rehabilitate. They did not give two shits about why you were there. This is the same time, if y'all listen to the Brushy Mountain episode, that we're seeing, I mean, forced slavery to prisoners.
Yeah.
For coal mining and other types of mining. But they did not care. They would routinely beat you, whip you, kill other prisoners just to keep the others in line. It was not a good place to be. And they were a cotton plantation, pretty much, at this place. So that's the work they were doing. And Clyde was put with the worst of the worst. Now, you got to remember, Clyde is 5'6", probably 160 pounds max. In with these rough, horrible men. And unfortunately, he started getting raped by a dude.
That's awful.
And this dude was like over 6 feet tall, over 250 pounds. I mean,
that's so sad. Because I was thinking too, like, up to this point, all he's done is like robbery, right?
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't really...
The worst is, like, armed robbery.
Yeah. But he hasn't,
I don't
like,
think
hurt
he's actually
anyone
killed
to
anybody.
this point.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so... how awful.
Yep. So, Clyde decided he was going to make it stop. And one day he did sneak a pipe into the building and lured this guy into the back and actually killed him.
Wow.
And someone else serving a life sentence actually took the blame. So I don't know if it was intentional, knew what was going on, and was like, I'm here for a life sentence anyway. I'll take the blame. I don't know what happened. But that just, So, prison made him a killer.
Yeah.
And him and Bonnie at this time were growing very passionate. They were writing to each other often, and Clyde just could not take the work detail anymore. He was just like, I can't do it anymore. He had a buddy cut off a couple of his toes so he wouldn't have to work anymore. But unbeknownst to Clyde, his mom and his sister had convinced a judge to let him out, and he was released like a week or two later.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So he was paroled in 1932. And this is the saddest part, I think, because this is kind of the beginning of the snowball effect that is happening. He did for a couple weeks, and I don't know how long a couple weeks would be. I really do think it was a couple weeks, like 2 or 3. He did try to go straight. He would get a job, and then something around town would happen, and because they know that he was just paroled out of prison, the police would come and talk to him at his job. Well, then he would get fired because the police came and talked to him. There were absolutely no workers' rights at this point. I mean, it's the Great Depression. Jobs were scarce.
Right.
If they felt like, they can't have police officers at their jobs. And it happened multiple times. And he was just like, fuck it. Why am I even trying? If you're going to put this label on me, why try?
That's so sad.
Yeah. So Bonnie and Clyde started crime again.
Oh, good.
Yep. And in March of 1932, so this is just like a month after he got out, Bonnie was actually captured in a failed robbery attempt and jailed in Kaufman, Texas. And she started writing poetry that had a lot of this gangster kind of lingo in it while she was in prison. And her mother remarked that she was like, I don't know what is happening to my daughter right now, but this is not the same woman. And she, at this point, is only 20.
Since 1933. Like 22, 23, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's already starting this different mentality because she'd been talking to Clyde for 2 years at this point while he was in prison. So she's in it now, but I will say, I'm going to refer to like the Barrow Gang, and it's not always a constant set of people. So I'm just going to tell you all the people who were included. So when you hear a name, you're just like, where the fuck did that come from? Because they would split up and go different directions. They would break apart, rendezvous, and I can't get into every single detail. So
yeah,
the Barrow Gang, on and off, consisted of Bonnie and Clyde, a guy named Raymond Hamilton, W.D. Jones, Henry Methvin, and Clyde's brother Buck Barrow, and then Buck's wife, Blanche Barrow. So Bonnie gets out in June of 1932. So she was only there for a couple of months. They decided that there was, one, not enough evidence, and two, no woman could do all that, right? Not of her own volition. Obviously, she was coerced into it. So, within the year of 1932, Clyde would go on to kill, I believe it was 4 people.
Oh, God.
3 of which were police officers.
Oh, shit.
And one of them was just like a grocery store owner. Oh. And, yeah, it was, again, the beginning of the end, I feel like. It's like, it's starting to snowball where, like, before it was just petty crimes. And then something happened in prison. And now he claimed, he stated, he will never go back to prison. And there were people that said he was doing whatever it took to keep him out of prison. Mm-hmm. Even if that means killing officers.
Yeah.
So these law enforcement people were already trying to catch him. But he was an insanely good driver, and he would only steal the best cars. So around this time, Henry Ford came out with the V8, and it just blew everyone else out of the water when it came to vehicles. I mean, these police cars were going 40 miles an hour. You give them about 10 seconds and you can't even see him anymore because he's going 90. Mm-hmm. It's insane. And he said he would rather run away than shoot people, but he had guns. He just broke into armories and would just steal all the nice guns. And so he had military police office grade guns.
Wow. And like super fast. Like, so he has taste. Like he's a murderer and a criminal, yes. But he has taste.
Oh yeah, he loved a good car. In fact, he loved Ford's V8 so much. He wrote Henry Ford a letter. Would you like me to read you this letter?
Please do.
I will do the best I can because it is in his handwriting. Okay, so, dear sir, while I still have got breath in my lung, I will tell you what a dandy car you make. I have drove Fords exclusively when I could get away with one. For sustained speed and freedom from trouble, the Ford has got even other car skimmed, every other car skimmed. And even if my business hasn't been strictly legal, it don't hurt anything to tell you what a fine car you've got in the V8. Yours truly, Clyde Champion Barrow.
That is kind of hilarious, actually.
I love it.
Hey, just so you know, Mr. Ford, I don't really do a lot of legal business, but you make a great getaway car.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
And here it is, Champion Barrow.
Champion Barrow. I am not Chestnut.
Not Chestnut. So, in 1933, we have some craziness. So, they decided. Now, Buck had been in prison for a while at this point, but he had just gotten out. So him and his wife, and I believe it was W.D. Jones and Bonnie and Clyde, of course, all went to Joplin, Missouri. And if you don't know where that is, that's the place that had I think it was like the world's biggest tornado back in 2011. Do you remember that?
I think so, yeah. Because I was thinking Joplin sounds familiar.
Yeah. It was the day we graduated. It was horrendous. Anywho, I watched a documentary on it a couple weeks ago. But during the time, Joplin was a hotbed for bootleggers because Prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were hanging out in this apartment, and this apartment had a garage. Like, think more like a house. Just, it's an apartment. So, the Barrow gang got a little rowdy while staying in this apartment. They were there for a couple weeks. And the neighbors, thinking that they were bootleggers, called the cops and was like, I think we got some bootleggers. I think you need to come, like, check them out. Well, the police come, and they're met with, like, machine guns and shotguns.
Holy
and
shit.
These peacekeepers, I think is what they called them, just had little handguns. I mean, they were absolutely no match for the Barrow gang. They were shooting through the fucking garage door. Like, this is some movie shit going on. This is Hollywood. So it ended up, I think 2 officers ended up dying, one on the scene and one was fatally wounded and died later.
Oh, man.
But up until this point, Bonnie and Clyde were not famous. They were just like, the police knew about them, but they weren't making headlines.
Notorious yet.
Right. They had to make such a fast getaway from this. They left behind clothes and essential items and 6 rolls of film that they had taken of the group together. This is where we get the most famous pictures of Bonnie and Clyde. They are the ones that I have here, where they're posing on the car and
with
holding
their guns.
With their guns. And there's one where, like, Bonnie is holding a gun up to, like, Clyde's gut and is like, whatever. But Bonnie here is holding, like, a gun. She's got a cigar in her mouth. And she actually hated that picture, which is funny because it's one of the most famous pictures of her. She's like, I think she just thought that was never going to get, like, actually developed or whatever.
Right.
But, so after this, the police were like, okay, well, now we have pictures of them we can put out. So they started putting it all in the newspapers. Well, the newspapers really liked this story. And that we're in the Great Depression at this point. People need to be spending, from the newspaper's point of view, people need to be spending money so the newspaper doesn't go under. They grabbed onto this story like freaking hotcakes. They were embellishing, like, these, their crimes. They were making them, like, a crime would happen over here, had nothing to do with Bonnie and Clyde, but they'd slap Bonnie and Clyde's name on it. Mm-hmm. And it was like Romeo and Juliet. People were desperate for entertainment. And this had everything that the regular, like, Depression-era gangsters didn't have, which was, like, a juicy love story. I mean, this sounds like a book I would read. This is
right. I mean, this
crazy.
is like, this is a movie happening in real life when people are like, please give us a distraction from this horrible time we're going through right now.
This is like the world's first soap opera, basically.
There's
people
drama.
Tuned in. There's
intrigue. There's romance. What more do you need in a story?
There's Moira. So, throughout all this, they're staying in the, like, Texas, states above Texas that are eluding me right now. They were, like, Ohio. I think it was, like, 6 states grouped together they just kind of stayed in. because I don't know why they just didn't go further, but they liked to go home and see their families. Because again, they're both from very close-knit families. They would literally drive by Clyde's dad's filling station and like throw a Coke bottle with like rendezvous points in it. And the family would have like a fucking picnic at this rendezvous point. They would call around the whole families and everybody would gather in like a very secluded area. And Clyde's mom, her name was Cumi, would make food for everyone. And it was like a picnic with your favorite criminal. It was weird.
Picnic with your favorite criminal. Wow.
And it was about this time that I think Clyde was like, yeah, I'm not making it out alive on this one.
Wow.
And they're after me. Bonnie, you should leave me. And she refused. She was like, I'm going down with you. I mean, straight up Romeo and Juliet vibes.
Mm-hmm.
After Joplin, they were in constant motion because they were too popular. They were like bathing in rivers, like eating sardines. They were just camping, for fuck's sake. Just straight up camping. And they had to go places where they weren't known, and then and places where they could get away as fast as possible.
Because it's hard to get away if, like, people are like, oh my God, it's Bonnie and Clyde. Let's go say hi.
Yeah. Let's go say hi. People were rooting for them to, like you do, guys, you do realize they're legit criminals and they're killing cops. But I could listen. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I wasn't married, I could probably be swayed by a sweet-talking criminal. I could. You good looking
You'd be a
enough?
mob wife.
I would be I can keep my mouth shut when I need to. I know. I didn't see shit, guys. But, I mean, I could see the appeal. It's like reading, let's just say, a fantasy book with a morally gray character. You're really rooting for them, even though they're doing all this shit stuff. Because of that juicy love story right there. So, on June 10th of 1933, there was a little bit of an accident. And when I say a little bit of an accident, I mean a big car accident. So, they were around Wellington, Texas. And Clyde would, again, he was a very good driver. He'd drive like 1,000 miles at a time. Just keeping moving. That's how he just eluded everyone for so long. And, stopping only to steal a new car, get more gas, whatever. So, I believe it was late at night, and he didn't know that there was road work being done. And he's just flying. I mean, 90 miles an hour, whatever. And honestly, in those old cars, that sounds stressful as fuck.
Yeah, 90? For sure. I feel like you get like the death rattle going on.
Yeah. I know what my Jeep feels like at 70, and I don't go past it. So, no. So he was on the new road, and then there was a detour to get onto the old road to use the bridge, because they hadn't gotten to rebuild the bridge yet. And he was going so fast he didn't see it. The car ended up flipping and caught on fire.
Holy shit.
Clyde was thrown out. I believe I've heard some sources say that JW was with them. He seemed to be fine if he was. Bonnie was actually trapped in the car. Her right leg was so burned by the time they got her out that it was basically burned to the bone.
Oh my God.
Like, she lost a lot of the muscle on that side. And some neighbors, someone at a farmhouse came out and helped them. And they ended up saving her leg by rubbing baking powder and grease into it. But she was basically crippled after that. I mean, she could barely walk on her own.
Oh my God, I'm just thinking, like, this is before seatbelts. This is before airbags or, like crumple zones.
Yeah.
There's no car safety in these things.
You're in a giant metal coffin.
Yeah.
Going 90 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
The next morning, police had arrived to investigate what had happened. And Clyde ended up kidnapping the police officer, stealing their car, and then he let them go in Oklahoma. Like, so far away. Wow. But he didn't kill him. Like, again, it's just showing that it seems to me that he takes killing people as a last-ditch effort, only if he can't get away.
Yeah.
And they headed east to a rendezvous point with Buck, and Clyde would duck into small towns and get bandages and salves for her leg and, like, really took care of her. He would carry her everywhere she needed to go.
Oh.
Like, I'm so torn because they're criminals, but I'd get sucked into the story. I know I would.
Yeah, for sure.
So, around this time, still in 1933, America decided to begin their war on crime. And they would take these big-name criminal celebrities and really just target them. So, Roosevelt and J. Edgar Hoover really wanted, like, a stronger police force to deal with them. So, that's what they did. And Clyde, obviously because he's killing cops, but also because the newspapers are exaggerating what they're doing, Clyde ended up on that list of big name people that needed to be taken down. So in June of 1933, there was a marshal killed in a shootout with a gang. And at this point, the head of the Texas prison system was just like, fuck it. Where's Frank Hammer? Frank Hammer was a terrifying motherfucker. And I'll tell you that. So the head of the prison system and the governor hired this dude who was a former Texas Ranger captain.
Oh.
The most famous lawman in Texas at the time. He had spent half of his life hunting down criminals and had killed 53 of them.
Holy shit.
At this point. And he was a legend. He said he would tell new recruits that the best way to enforce the law is a 45 slug in the gut. This dude
He didn't play.
And he was not going to arrest. He was not going to take him to a trial. This was a manhunt execution style.
Wow.
It would only take from the time that he was hired 109 days to track down Clyde.
Wow.
Yeah. He followed basically like a hunter hunting prey, followed their path and talked to anyone who would give them up. Like, just had a plan.
It's kind of scary. Like, this man is, like, putting a pit in my stomach a little bit. And, like, I'm not rooting for Bonnie and Clyde, but, like, this is, like, he sounds like a predator. Like a legitimate predator.
Yes. The thought of this guy being after me, I'll surrender. Make it quick. I'm scared.
It's like have you seen the internet meme where it's like the snail? Like, you're constantly running away from a snail who will kill you as the moment it touches you, and it will never stop chasing you. That's but, like, this terrifying man who I'm sure has, like, a very intimidating mustache. I'm just imagining him with, like, a big old bushy mustache.
I didn't get a, let's see, Francis Hammer. Oh my God, he does not have a mustache.
He doesn't?
No, he just looks like a dude, which I think is even more terrifying. Like, he needs a mustache to, like, I don't know. There's something off about him not having a mustache.
I'll look him up. Yeah, he just looks like a guy.
He just looks like a guy, which is so unassuming.
Mm-hmm. I would never think this man was like a scary, like, human manhunter.
Yeah. Okay, but look at this one. Look at him there. That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
He just needs the right clothes.
He looks like he's in a movie. Like, he looks like the rogue sheriff or something.
I wonder if, like, Walker Texas Ranger was...
I was literally thinking that when you said he's a Texas Ranger. I was immediately like...
See, Walker Texas Ranger is the only Texas Ranger I know of, so I didn't know that they were actually a real thing.
In my brain, I was thinking Chuck Norris, but then I almost said Chuck Testa. Is this... Oh no, this line's about to eat me. Nope, Chuck.
Guys,
it's just Chuck Testa.
We don't have time for this, but just Google Chuck Testa taxidermy and thank us later.
Oh man, that was a throwback.
They don't make commercials like they used to.
Gosh, I remember watching that in high school. Like, that's ancient history right there.
It really is.
Nope.
So
Chuck
good.
Testa.
Nope. Chuck Testa.
Anyway.
This
scary motherfucker is on the hunt for Clyde.
Yeah, he's on the hunt. So, in July, remember, they're being hunted. They don't know it yet, but they are. So, totally different incident. July 23rd of 1933, a posse surrounds the gang. During their escape, Bonnie and Jones, man, I keep forgetting his, like, initials.
Is it WD?
WD Jones. Okay. So, Bonnie and WD Jones are wounded. They end up escaping. Clyde was able to escape. Buck's wife, Blanche, was blinded by shards of glass.
Oh, shit.
And she was captured. And Buck was shot in the head and lived.
Oh, my God.
Literally, they said it went from, like, temple to temple.
Oh, fuck.
And he didn't die. And he got away.
Oh, God.
So, 4 days later in Iowa, they were surrounded again. Literally, like, there were onlookers. People were watching because...
What else are you going to do?
So, Clyde said that they need to run for the bush by the river, like, get away. Bonnie had to be carried.
Yeah.
Buck couldn't make it. And Clyde, like, again, we don't condone what they're doing, but could you imagine having to pick between, like, your girlfriend and your brother, like, which one to carry?
Mm-hmm.
And he left his brother.
Oh, man.
I mean, Buck was kind of shot through the head. Don't think he was going to make it for much longer anyway.
Yeah.
Buck and Blanche were taken prisoner. Buck died at the hospital a few days later. It is said that his mom was able to get to him before he died.
Aw.
Could you imagine being the parents of these?
No, absolutely not.
People.
Ugh.
So, they're down 2 people in their gang. And what I didn't mention earlier was when Clyde was in prison at Eastham, him and a friend had said that they wanted to come back later and bust people out of prison, right? So 4 years later, well, I guess it would be 2 years, because all of this is happening very quickly.
Yeah.
2 years after he was able to get out of prison, they actually fulfilled that. So Bonnie and Clyde and JW, DW.
WD.
Damn it. WD. Yes, I am struggling, guys. So Bonnie and Clyde and WD went and actually freed Raymond Hamilton, who I had mentioned him before. He was arrested for something else a while ago. I don't remember what, but they freed him, and 3 others from Eastham Prison Farm. During this, one guard unfortunately was killed. One of those men who escaped was Henry Methvin. Meth is in the drug, Vin. Methvin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he was part of the gang too, right? Or did he become part of the gang? He
became part of the gang, from what I can understand.
Okay.
He wasn't part until this point. So, on April the 1st of 1934, beautiful Easter Sunday, 2 Texas highway officers were killed near Grapevine. Now, they were killed by the Barrow Gang, but there were 2 different reports as to what happened. So, according to a witness, like the official witness, which was played, this witness played his testimony, like they recorded it and put it over the shows, the like movie theaters at the time. So according to him, a Ford halted, like stopped alongside a highway. The occupants of the vehicle were laughing and talking among themselves, tossed whiskey bottles out the windows, and then 2 highway patrolmen stopped their motorcycles to check on the stopped car, and the people just shot them and opened fire. Now, during this official report, I'm doing like air quotes, guys. You'll know why in a minute. Bonnie was reported to walk over to one of the officers, roll him over with a foot, raise a sawed-off shotgun, and fire 2 more shots point blank at the officer's head and say, quote, "Look at there, his head bounced just like a rubber ball." I have suspicions, but there were 2, like I said, 2 versions of the story. Another witness, also that first witness was like 3/4 of a mile away at his farm.
How would he be able to hear what she said?
Like, I know voices carry on water, but like on a farm? Anyway, so there was like a couple nearby that just happened to look up and saw a tall man and a short man shoot the officers. Turns out the tall man was Henry Methvin. He was traveling with Bonnie and Clyde at the time. I think, is it DW? God, I'm getting it all fucked
WD.
up. Damn it. He had like bounced at this point. He was like, I'm so done with this.
Yeah.
So Henry Methvin was traveling with them at this time. The reason they got shot was because of a miscommunication. Apparently, Clyde said let's take them, meaning kidnap, because he would do that a lot. He would kidnap them, drop them off so far away, it's so inconvenient.
Yeah.
Henry thought he meant kill them.
Yeah.
So Henry killed them. The reason there were 2 different stories was because Henry's dad was already talking to Scary Frank dude to get his son, like, pardoned if he gives up Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. So, mostly Clyde, because again, they're still really just going after Clyde at this point.
Right, like, Bonnie is there, but it doesn't seem like, especially after the accident, she's, like, actively participating. She's just, like, with him.
She can't walk. How is she going to walk up
and that's
to these
exactly
officers?
When you said that, like, she walked up and, like, rolled over the officer with her foot, I was like, heavily doubt.
Yes, big doubt. So they were spinning the story to make it seem like Bonnie was involved, so it didn't look like Henry was involved.
Right, yeah.
So they can more easily kind of just, like, wipe their hands clean of this later. Clemency was the word I was looking for. They wanted clemency for their son. So, on April the 6th, they went on and killed another law officer and took another one captive in Oklahoma. So it's kind of getting worse.
Yeah, it's escalating.
Now, on May the 6th, they held another meeting with their family. This would be the last one. So they told Clyde, his parents told Clyde that they hadn't bought a headstone for Buck yet because they knew that he was going to die soon too, and they didn't have the money for 2 headstones.
Ugh.
So they were just going to bury them together. And Clyde
God.
said he wanted gone but not forgotten on his headstone.
Wow.
Like, he knew.
Yeah.
And Bonnie gave her mom a poem called The End of the Line. And it was just a story about the two of them. I have it, but I'll save it for last.
Okay.
And it's rough. Not rough. It's
emotional.
Interesting. Yes. So on May the 23rd, here we are. It'll be 91 years tomorrow.
Wow.
They were ambushed. So what happened was they were driving to Henry Methvin's family farm. Apparently between this time they like split up, and Henry, I guess, was like, come to my parents' farm for a safe haven. They had done it before. It was in Louisiana, and Scary Dude assembled just a bunch of deputies, and they hid in the bushes on Highway 154. So the interesting thing about Highway 154 is if you're standing on the bluffs on either side, you can see for miles. If you're on the road, you can't really see up in there, right? To make sure, because, I mean, again, the dude just, like, blows past. To make sure that Clyde wouldn't just speed by, they actually planted Henry's dad's truck on the side of the road and made it look like it was broken down, because Clyde knew these people, knew that he would slow down to help Henry's dad. So at around 9:15 that morning, they heard the V8 coming up down the road, and Clyde took the bait and slowed down. Someone shot off the first 2 rounds, and they both hit Clyde in the head. So from what I understand, he was probably dead right there instantly, which caused his foot to come off the clutch, and the car started rolling. Well, I mean, they're pretty far away. They thought, shit, he's getting away again, because the car started rolling, and everyone just unloaded. The sad part about this is I'm thinking they didn't say anything about Bonnie being hit the first time. Had they not just unloaded, she probably would have lived. But they absolutely unloaded, shredded the car, and unfortunately the people in it. Over 160 bullets
Holy shit.
were shot into this car. Do you want to know what the worst fucking part about this is? They filmed it.
Are you kidding me?
They filmed. I saw clips. I did not go forth and look for more because I don't need
You don't need trauma.
I don't need the JFK trauma all over again.
Yeah.
But they showed the people in the bushes and yelling like, oh, here they come. And then it showed the aftermath. The way these people looked in that car was horrendous. Bonnie was found obviously riddled with bullets. Like, they said, like, I think it was her arm was almost off.
Oh my
from
God.
the bullets. And she had a sandwich and a pack of cigarettes and a machine gun. And she was, like, leaned up against Clyde. And apparently Clyde was almost unrecognizable.
Oh my God.
And he was holding a revolver. So, freaking Hammer, like, they sorted through all of their stuff, and Hammer took the guns and the fishing tackle as a reward. Like, these people's lives didn't matter.
And I'm just thinking, like, in their last moments, like, it's just very vivid in my head for some reason. And, like, you know, Clyde being shot, and then Bonnie's just like, what?
Yeah.
And then, boom, like, she's dead.
Over. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And people heard about it, came to the highway. People started crowding. They started trying to rip off pieces of clothing.
While they were still there?
Yeah.
They just left them there?
No. Like, a crowd swarmed. People were trying to take Bonnie's wedding ring off her hand. Someone tried to cut off Clyde's fucking trigger finger.
Oh my God. People are monstrous.
The worst. Yes. Anything they could take, they were trying to get off these bodies. The car was taken to Arcadia, Louisiana, and Bonnie and Clyde's parents did come and retrieve their bodies. They did fight off the crowd. Like, no, you can't have Clyde's fucking finger. Gross, for one. Yeah. And then I saw a video, like, two days, the Dallas newspaper sold 500,000 extra copies of the newspaper. Wow. There was a video of, like, the funeral, I think, for Clyde. And the reporter literally said, quote, "Again, tragedy and shame descend upon his aged father and mother." Like, that's rude. It's not their fault. He's a product of living in the slums during the Depression and then
getting very rewarded from crime.
Yes. And the cops profiling him. No, again, we don't condone, but he was a product of all the shit. So they ended up being buried in 2 different cemeteries. Her mother said, quote, "He had her in life and he can't have her in death." Wow. So she refused to let them be buried next to each other. Thousands of people came to this funeral. I mean, thousands. Both of them. And I thought it was really sweet. His parents came to Bonnie's funeral as well.
Yeah. Aww.
So after Bonnie was killed in 1934, remember, her husband is still in prison.
Yeah.
Thornton was quoted in a newspaper article at the time saying that he was glad that Bonnie and Clyde actually went out the way they did. Because, quote, "It's much better than being caught than getting caught."
Wow.
Yeah. So about a year after Bonnie and Clyde died, all the other Depression-era gangsters were taken down. I didn't know that they went that fucking hard on taking them down, but
I didn't either.
Obliterated. Maybe we should do, like, a bonus episode on the war on crime, because, I mean, think about it. It's almost like the Depression-era gangsters, like, were thriving, and then they just ended.
Yeah. I mean, really, we've mentioned it when we talked about, Prohibition.
Right.
I think we kind of talked about it when we talked about Hot Springs, because that was such like a gangster's paradise there. Yeah. And then, like, it just stopped.
It did. It just kind of ended.
I don't think about gangsters really. I mean, of course, there are still gangsters of all kinds, but I don't really think of, like, this era of gangsters persisting past, not even up to World War II, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, they were obliterated, and I think it's because, I mean, they made special police forces to take out these people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Bonnie and Clyde is the most famous one out of all of them. And one of the first to go down, honestly.
And I mean, they've become so ingrained in pop culture, too. Like, I've heard Bonnie and Clyde my entire life and never really... I knew they were... Honestly, I thought they were even before this era. I thought it was more like the Old West type thing.
Yeah.
Like Billy the Kid and Jesse James and stuff like that. Like, that era.
Yeah. I always think of, like... Every time I think of Bonnie and Clyde, I don't know why. My brain is very visual. I always think of, like, sepia tones and kind of like a transatlantic accent, even though I know that's not exactly correct, but just like that, the suit and that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so I'm going to regale you the poem that Bonnie wrote, and it is called, quote, "The Story of Bonnie and Clyde." You've read the story of Jesse James, of how he lived and died. If you're still in need of something to read, here's the story of Bonnie and Clyde. Now, Bonnie and Clyde are the Barrow Gang. I'm sure you all have read how they rob and steal, and those who squeal are usually found dying or dead. There's lots of untruths to these write-ups. They're not so ruthless as that. Their nature is raw. They hate all the law, the stool pigeon spotters, and rats. They call them cold-blooded killers. They say they are heartless and mean. But I say this with pride, that I once knew Clyde when he was honest and upright and clean. But the laws fooled around, kept taking him down and locking him up in a cell, till he said to me, I'll never be free, so I'll meet a few of them in hell. The road was so dimly lighted, there were no highway signs to guide, but they made up their minds if all roads were blind, they wouldn't give up till they died. The road gets dimmer and dimmer, sometimes you can hardly see, but it's fight man to man and do all you can, for they know they can never be free. From heartbreak, from people have suffered, from weariness some people have died. But take it all in all, our troubles are small till we get like Bonnie and Clyde. If a policeman is killed in Dallas and they have no clue or guide, if they can't find the fiend, they just wipe their slate clean and hand it on Bonnie and Clyde. There's 2 crimes committed in America, not accredited to the Barrow mob. They had no hand in the kidnap demand nor the Kansas City depot job. A newsboy once said to his buddy, I wish old Clyde would get jumped. In these awful hard times, we'd make a few dimes if 5 or 6 cops would get bumped. The police haven't got the report yet, but Clyde called me up today. He said, don't start any fights. We aren't working nights. We're joining the NRA. From Irving to West Dallas, Viaduct is known as the Great Divide, where the women are kin and the men are men, and they won't stool on Bonnie and Clyde. If they try to act like citizens and rent them a nice little flat, about the 3rd night they're invited to fight by the sub-guns rat-tat-tat. They don't think they're too tough or desperate. They know that the law always wins. They've been shot at before, and they do not ignore that death is the wages of sin. Someday they'll go down together, and they'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief, to the law a relief, but it's death for Bonnie and Clyde. Ta-da.
That was bleak.
Yeah. And she's even saying, like, these are the jobs that we didn't do that you're blaming on us.
Mm-hmm. And we know that our only way out of this is us dying together.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we didn't make ourselves this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like this wrapped it up so well because the media, even to this day, I remember I remember watching one of those shows or movies or whatever it is, and they depicted Bonnie, they did give her a limp, but like hobbling up to that police officer to shoot him. And that is not what their like.
Yeah.
They painted them in the cold-blooded killer light, when I don't feel like that's necessarily true.
I agree. It
just snowballed.
Yeah. I think Bonnie was complicit. She definitely, again, was there. But just based on everything, it sounds like she, again, was just there. Like, there's no, like, official documentation of her engaging in the crimes and shooting people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she could have. I don't know. But, I'm glad I know more about this story, but this is bleak.
Yeah.
Oof.
It was definitely, there were some funny bits in there. The audacity of him writing that letter to Henry Ford is just hilarious. The best. But it just seemed like, one, Bonnie needed better taste in men, I think.
Yes, I agree.
And two, but I mean, she's like too young to be making decisions like this.
I mean, I can't believe they were both still so young. I mean, they weren't even in their mid-20s, right? Yeah. I always imagined them like in their 30s, like after like years, like a decade of crime, but no, that's not it at all. Wow. They're so young.
Clyde was only out of prison for like 2 years by the time he died.
That's crazy.
They had only known each other for 4 years.
In half that time, they couldn't even be together because he was in prison.
Yeah. Literally half that time. Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I mean, like, you put it very well earlier. They are the literal ride or die.
Yeah. Literal ride or die. And they died riding. So.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, what happened to Bonnie and Clyde Carr. Well, that's just insensitive. It was on display at Buffalo Bill's resort. It's on display at a resort and casino.
I feel like that's tacky.
Yeah. It was originally on display at Whiskey Pete's before being moved to Buffalo Bill's. I hate that.
I do too.
Okay, apparently is, according to in 2024, it is at Whiskey Pete's now. I don't know. It's either at Buffalo Bill's or at Whiskey Pete's. They call it the Death Car.
That's lovely. I don't know. That's so gauche. Like, yeah. I know there's a whole, like, I've heard about it. There's, like, a whole, like, dark tourism. Like, people love the macabre and stuff that's morbid. And, I mean...
Can we not put it in a museum?
Their bodies weren't even cold when people were trying to, like, take their body parts, you know? But I think it just, I don't know. I think it would be better in a museum versus, like...
Yeah. Freaking
was
casino.
It like Radio Bob's Wild West Show or whatever?
Buffalo Bill's Casino and Resort or Whiskey Pete's.
I don't know. That's so tacky and
mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they were criminals, but they were still human beings, and it just seems disrespectful to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
Anywho, Blanche did make it out alive. She spent 10 years in prison.
Wow.
Her vision was fucked, but she lived.
I'm glad she lived. I was looking at the picture that you posted of her. She's so beautiful. She looks like a model. I know she's like got glass in her eyes, and it is not good at all.
Yeah.
But I was just like, she looks like a model. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You would never know, you know.
Yeah. I mean, looking at this picture of Buck and Blanche.
I know. They
in
just
front of this car.
You could never tell they're criminals. He's wearing like his little suit and tie. Yeah. Hugging her. All snuggly.
And the poor girl, she did not want anything to do with this life from what I can tell. I mean, she was just going on, with her husband, and her and Bonnie did, form a tight relationship. They became, very close, but she didn't want anything to do with it. Poor Blanche.
Oh, that's just even more sad.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think you did a great job covering this story.
Thanks.
It was super fascinating, and I feel like I finally know about them.
Yeah, I think I knew I had some preconceived notions, but I didn't really have anything concrete, and I'm glad to know as much of the truth as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did great. Thank you.
Thanks. Should we do socials?
Let's do socials.
Okay. You can find us on Facebook,
Ill-Equipped History Podcast Group and Page.
Gmail,
illequippedhistory@gmail.com.
Instagram,
@ill-equippedhistory.
TikTok,
@ill-equippedhistory.
and Patreon.
Patreon.com/ill-equippedhistory. Please join us and get our bonus episodes. We would love it so much.
Join us.
Join us.
And I'll send you stickers.
Yes.
I did finally send out the ship ones.
Yay.
Yay.
We've run a tight ship show.
So yes, if you feel like the law is getting you down, definitely don't turn to crime. That makes it worse every time.
Yeah. Don't kill police officers.
Or anybody.
Yeah, don't kill anybody. Yeah.
But also find you the metaphorical ride or die.
Yeah.
Have a love like Bonnie and Clyde, but not the destructive behavior.
Yeah, no. I have someone who will carry you around after your leg is burned off in a horrible car accident that they caused from driving too fast and not being able to read road signs.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Sorry. I'm very tired, so my brain is just like...
No. Shut down. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.